One, two, one, two, three, four.
Just so many hours you spent on the phone, I wasted here loving you. Now you gonna tell me that you're on your own, you're leaving me sad and blue. Just so many days you've been on my mind, you been stop trouble on down the line. Fool if I go, fool if I stay, tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let it roll, let it glide, let it fall off the side.
Howdy. That ringing, beautiful sound of noise that I have in my ear is, Mr. Producer, we have tried our best to every week, try to bring a little bit more production integrity and content quality to the show. And one of the things that we were lacking is that our intro music was not the greatest. And we started thinking, why not get local talent in order to help supplement the show?
That's right.
And in 1 week, I make a little mention of, is there any way that the baddest band in town, the Pine Box Dwellers, could we have them to provide our intro music? And we had that happen like within 7 days. And so certainly their career, they don't know this, but their career is about to take off.
I hope they're ready.
I hope they're ready as well. So, guys, first of all, right off the bat, we thank, in all sincerity, the Pine Box Dwellers. I love those guys. Their music is awesome, and so please look them up. I actually last night tried to download some of their songs on iTunes, and they were available, but I had a new debit card that iTunes only represents. So I've got to do some work there. So, but I love their music, and I thank those guys.
You can download it directly from their site at pineboxdwellers.com.
And that's why you're our producer, sir.
That's me.
When I'm stuttering around on trying to get people to Apple, and of course I can't even like I said, I'm still individually buying songs from Apple, and apparently I'm the last dinosaur on the planet that is still doing that. So my nephews are embarrassed by the fact that I do that.
At least you don't have a CD player.
No.
At least you don't use your
Oh,
CD
you're there,
player.
you're there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so welcome, guys. This is the Trellis Carpenter Building. We're here on the 17th floor. We do own part of the 18th floor, but that's merely for storage. And we're here in the Timmy Tooper Studios today. And our sponsor is, I'm going to get it right.
You're right on.
Oh,
right on.
Yeah, right. So our sponsor today is Okefenokee Pest Control. So let me say, like I always do with small towns, is Heath Wainwright owns Okefenokee Pest Control. Heath is a very good friend of mine. I can't imagine that Heath is ever going to watch this show in a million years. But like in other things, I have a lot of friends that are because I'm a realtor, I have a lot of friends that are in the pest control business. We use a lot of exterminating type companies or pest control companies. But Heath does something that all of the other ones do not. And
What's that?
it's not some service that he provides. He might provide some service, but Heath takes me hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And the others don't take me hunting. So Heath gets
It's a little bump up.
top billing for. So if those other guys just want to take me hunting, I'm cheap and easy. I'll kick Heath right out of here. That's no problem whatsoever. But no, Heath Wainwright is the kindest, just nicest guy on planet Earth. And so I do use Heath a lot for our pest control services. So please look up Okefenokee Pest Control. Look up Heath Wainwright. Have him to come out and just come see you. As you've already heard from our producer in studio today, we have producer Don Sutton in studio today. Don, thanks for joining us today.
Howdy.
And if you want to just send Don an email, his email address is ebpricehair@gmail.com. That's Don Sutton at ebpricehair@gmail.com if you need to send an email to him today. But once again, probably the most exciting news is that of the Pine Box Dwellers. And sometimes I get carried away with things. I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, but that's kind of a person.
On occasion.
Yeah, a person that. But I don't know if the Pine Box Dwellers might also just be looking. How many guys are in their group? 4 or 5?
You would ask that.
I'm sorry. I've caught you off guard with that.
There's at least 4.
There's at least 4. Let's say there's 4. It might be 5. Let's say there's 4. They might need a 5th guy. I might be their man. Like a singular pip.
Yeah.
Like Gladys Knight and the Pips. If they're just looking for a singular pip, and I could do cowboy and basic dancing. Sour Beast. But the Pine Box Dwellers giving us the ability, the rights to play that song as our intro, outro is a big thank you. And I certainly don't take that lightly because I love their music. With that being said, and me being a Pip, just some announcements for the community is, I think on Thursday, we're going to have the announcements of Dancing with the Southern Stars. And let's talk about that. This is huge.
Yeah.
First of all, Dancing with the Southern Stars. What's most important is, let me give you a little history there. Dancing with the Southern Stars for many, many years did that because their own charity, the Magnolia House here in town, raised money for that. And it did so well. These guys were benevolent enough to say, let's split this with someone. We've done so well with it. Let's break it in half and split it with somebody. Last year they picked Hospice. What a wonderful organization to share your proceeds with. I don't remember exactly the number. Don't hold me to this because Michelle Gertman will have my head. But I think Hospice walked away with a check for $89,000.
Wow.
So then Magnolia got $89,000. It was $87,000 or $89,000, but it was an incredible amount of money. And so this year, this is my charity of choice. Well, two really. I have the Fellowship for Christian Athletes that I love, but the Okefenokee Miracle League is just very close to my heart. And so that is the charity that they have picked. We've got to get these kids their own. Don't get me started. Wait, I got my blood pressure medicine there. Don't get me started. And so I say this, and people, I think, misunderstand it. They think I'm, just wave your hands when I need to stop, Mr. Producer. But if as a community, we're going to support sports the way that we do, and we do, and I'm one of the chief guys that does it. Sure. So I'm putting myself in this group of people. But if we're going to have 17 football coaches for a high school team, in which people are going to say, Clay, do you have a problem with that? Oh, no. I don't have a problem with that at all. Camden County does. Coffee County does. Is it ridiculous, like when it's all said and done and we're on our deathbeds, where we say, you know what, having 17 high school football coaches, is that a bit much? We probably are going to say that's a bit much. But I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. That's listen, when in Rome, do what the Romans are doing. All the other little communities have 17 high school football coaches too. I can't fathom why we need 17, but we got it, and I'm supportive of. Here's what I'm saying. If we're going to be that serious about high school football, which I have no issues with, we can't sit around in a community and not have a field for the special needs young women, young men, and adults in our community to go have recreation at.
Sure.
We can't have we can't. There's no way that we can, in our minds, justify. I can't, in my mind. I can't speak for other people. I can't justify that. So I'm saying I want to support both. I'm not trying to detract from other sports because there's 22 players on a football field, and certainly they need a 1-to-1 coaching ratio. So with that being said, I'm just saying, listen, I'm okay with that if we have a Miracle League field. And that's all I'm saying. So our friends at Dancing with the Southern Stars, that is the fundraising effort. That's the charity that they have chosen to join. And so this Thursday, I think they're going to announce who the pairs are going to be.
Yeah.
The couples are going to be. And so once again, let me go ahead, because right now Bubba's saying this.
Clay ain't supportive of high school football.
Bubba's saying that right now.
Yeah.
So Bubba, let me tell you, very supportive of high school football. I donate to high school football. I think 17 football coaches is excessive, but I'm supportive of that excessiveness. I'm supportive of it. Yeah. I'm one of those guys. I'm just saying, Bubba, if we're going to be that supportive of high school football, we need to be able to justify every kid having the right to recreational opportunity. And now I can hear Bubba say, "Oh, okay. I understand where you're coming from a little better now." Okay, easy, Bubba. We're good.
That was a really good impression of Bubba.
By the way. Yeah, and I didn't have to give his name. Everybody knew that everybody knew that was Bubba. Okay, so I don't know. I'm very involved with Dancing with the Southern Stars. I emceed it last year. I've done the trifecta. So I've been a dancer, which I was horrible. I was a judge, which I was a lot more comfortable as a judge, and then last year I emceed it. So that's the trifecta that one would shoot for. Yeah. But I can tell you this: I'm very involved, but I do not know the couples. Okay, so that is a secret. But I've just thrown down 2 names that I hope are on the list.
Yeah.
And one's obvious to this show, the heart and soul of this show, the man who turns wrenches for us all. If Brett Miller's not dancing, I don't know that I'm emceeing. I don't know that.
I hear he's got the yummy.
Yum, yum. And he's got the Bieber Fever. And Brett does have the yummy. And then I would go also, I think Gina Howell should dance. She's an educator. Everybody knows her. And can I tell you, the best dancers are those that just, you can tell, are miserably uncomfortable because they're not dancers.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to pick on Gina for a second because I was in that category. I think she would firmly be in that category. It's like, Mr. Producer, it's like karaoke. And I've told you this before. I have no desire to watch somebody sing karaoke that sings really well. That's no fun. I don't have desire to hear people who can't sing and tell you that they can't sing. That doesn't really intrigue me at all either. What I love is people who can't sing but think they can sing.
Yeah.
That is the icing on the cake for karaoke, and that's what I'm looking for. Especially if they sing Reba McEntire. Fancy seems to be the go-to song for those kind of things. So anyhow, I think we get that announcement of who the couples are going to be. So I look forward to having that announcement be made. Once again, don't know who the couples will be, but so exciting that, even if we repeat what we did last year, that the Miracle League might receive upwards of $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 is certainly,
Absolutely.
that is phenomenal use, for it. Have you been to a Dancing with the Stars?
I have not. I'm gonna have to try and get there this year.
You should just lied.
I wish I.
You should just say.
I wish I had seen you dance though.
Oh, it was.
Do we have video of that? So,
do you know the music that I danced to?
No.
I came in with a very strong. We did 3 songs. My partner was Audrey Lane Jefford. She's like a little sister to me. She's probably 6 foot tall. She's like a beanpole. She danced her whole life, and then she was standing next to me.
Poor thing.
Yeah, so I looked that made it 10 times worse. I do have a picture of me doing it. That's what you need, some more production work to superimpose this picture into. So we opened up with I'm having a hard time saying this with a straight face because I'm somewhat embarrassed. But we opened up with a little Dark Horse by Katy Perry.
Okay.
Looking back at that, not I don't know if that's a proud selection. In the middle, we went with the song Happy by Pharrell or who, I don't really remember that. But third, and I'm okay with this, we closed out with Smooth Criminal.
Oh, classic.
By Michael Jackson. Yeah, Smooth Criminal.
Did you win that year?
So we finished second in the well, let me be more clear. The coveted prize is fun. There's fundraising and how good of a dancer are you as a couple.
Yeah.
In fundraising, we finished second. I think we raised $11,000 or $9,000, something like that. Wow. This was the first year, so that was pretty good. As far as our dancing skills, I don't recall us being mentioned. I don't recall it as being mentioned in the top 3 or 5 or 10. And now my partner, to give her credit, phenomenal dancer.
Sure.
But her back was sore. She was carrying me through the whole competition. But it was a neat experience. But I will say this. My brother used to always ask me before he gets Clay, have you ever been nervous before? And I think maybe a little bit like before a sporting event or something, but he was mainly talking about like when you speak, like when I preach, if I do a wedding, if I do a funeral. And I was like, no, I said, I've never been nervous before doing that. Brother, the night brother, did you hear that? That sounded like the old wrestler. Who was the guy that used to say that, brother? That was Hulk Hogan. Brother, the night that I did Dancing with the Stars, and I had to dance. Now, not emceeing doesn't bother me. I'm not nervous by that. Judging doesn't bother me. I could not spit.
Oh.
I was nauseous.
Yeah.
I was so nervous to get up there in front.
Did you in fact puke?
I did not puke
because we know you're.
I kept it together.
You're a little weak on that area.
I kept it together. I did not puke. It was the 3 longest minutes of my life. I can definitely attest to that. But anyhow, just everybody be listening out for the announcement of who those pairs are going to be. Those dancing pairs are going to be for Dancing with the Southern Stars. And then as far as this week, we also wanted to do, this is kind of twofold, Mr. Producer. One, I do believe I have some talent to lend the Pine Box Dwellers.
Sure.
But we also like to do a little competition. So this is what we're going to do this week. We're going to have you to share this show, which is, by the way, is episode number 17 or 18 or something like that.
Ish.
18. I don't know what it is. I think it's 18. So here's what we're going to do. We actually have I don't even know what I did with it, but it's a $50 gift card to Otter Creek that we're going to give away. A $50 gift card to Otter Creek. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. You've got to share this in order to be in for the Otter Creek gift card. And then secondly, you have to give, I'm going to give, what do you call it when you try out? I want to try out for the Pine Box Dwellers. Audition. That's the word. Man, that's why you're our producer. So I would like to grab my musical instrument. And so I'm going to play a song. And if you can recognize the song, or if you don't recognize the song, we really don't care. We just need you sharing this thing. That's how that works.
Share it and take a guess.
Take a guess. But I think because of my skill set, I think you'll easily be able to recognize it. I think the Pine Box Dwellers will easily come to the conclusion of we've got to get this guy in. We got to hear him in person. But I'm going to play a song. You have to share this for the Otter Creek gift certificate, and you have to guess what song I'm playing. And I think I'm going to back off the microphone just a little bit. And another thing is I really like in musicians when they go like 3, 2, 1, like, how do they count in?
Yeah.
I so badly want to be a musician. Do they start at 4, 4, 3, 2? So I'm gonna count myself in, and then my wife's calling right now. She knows this is when we tape this show. That's a
She's
Ricky.
just trying to
That's
get
a,
on. She's trying to get it. She's
That's a
trying to
Ricky.
get on camera.
She's trying to call in. I should have answered. That's what I should have done. But just because my wife is slightly more important than this show, let's make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay. All right. We're good, I think. All right. So once again, Mr. Producer, you've got to share the episode today, and then you've got to be able to guess in the comments what song am I playing. Okay. Wait, hold on. I gotta count myself in. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's all I'm giving you.
Oh man,
Could you feel it?
I felt it.
Do you know what song it is?
I do.
Okay, so don't say anything. Okay, don't evade any taxes. Okay,
Yeah.
no evasion of taxes.
No.
That's your hint.
None.
Okay, even if you're wrong, we don't care. Just guess down at the bottom.
Just guess and share.
Just guess and share. That's correct. Now, to that end, I want to see hard-hitting news. I believe you had some to share with me today that's in a continuation of what we've been looking at, the healthiest economy we've had in a real long time, but we're still seeing these bankruptcies.
Bankruptcy plaguing.
I think Crystal's, we've already covered Crystal's bankruptcy. Is it Pier 1 Imports, I believe, that they, I think, only sell really uncomfortable futons, so I can't imagine why they're filing for bankruptcy.
Can't at all.
And then this one you have shared with me this morning, and this is going to touch more at our heartstrings, I think. What you got?
This is big. So the Boy Scouts have filed for bankruptcy. You know, they've had some legal costs, and they've been around. Do you know how long they've been around?
118 years.
110 years.
Oh, I was close.
That was real close.
That's good.
And they have more than 2.4 million participants.
Okay.
And it's unclear how the process is going to affect all these participants, but they have, they will be filing for. They have filed for bankruptcy.
You want me to?
We got to
Listen.
We've got.
I probably already made high school football fans mad. You want me to just keep making people mad today? Do you want me to
peel back the layers?
That's right.
The
I
onion.
like to also say to unpack this. I can unpack this.
It needs to be unpacked.
The reason that the Boy Scouts are folding their tent. You see what I did there?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay. Listen, like I've told Woodrow, we're not getting involved in politics,
No.
but this won't be I'm not going to make this a political statement, but if you cower down to everything that comes at you and the organization that was built around making young boys into men begins to behave like just wimpy little, I'm trying to be civil about this. At some point in time, men have to act like men and don't let the left world leaning, not even political, but just stand up for what you believe in and don't back down. And the Scouts didn't do it. They got what they deserved because they did not stand up for their very own principles of their organization. And so it ain't legal fees. It's, listen, this is who we were. And we were challenged by a couple of things, and we folded our tents. We gave in to, now, whether, you know, I've probably said enough already. But the Scouts, they created their own mess because they had a core principle that they believed in, and they left that core principle. And that's what happens. That's what happens to families, to America, to all those kind of things. And I've already said enough. So I don't think I'm surprised that, let me see if I get this right, an organization that was built around a principle that was successful for 110 years all of a sudden said, we're not going to take on this pressure. We're scared. We're going to begin to, and I need to be really careful here, but we're going to begin to partner with things that are outside of our core and our principle. Yeah, I don't think there's any reason why we should be surprised that the Boy Scouts are folding their tents. It's sad day.
It is.
Because my son was in Scouts, and those guys worked so hard. And I hate to tell you, but an Eagle Scout, that my parents' age people became an Eagle Scout, and an Eagle Scout today are seen as two totally different. There's not the same, unfortunately, because being an Eagle Scout is a high honor, does not have the same value. Who's listening to this? This is boring. This is boring talk. But that's what happened with your Scouts. Sometimes you have to unpack things. It's got to be a little boring, but that's what happened with the Scouts. And that's kind of my thoughts on all of that. So no surprise there. I am surprised that your Crystals and your Pier 1 imports, or whatever it's called, it's just the economy's so strong. But that's also a natural product of the strongest people win. And Pier 1 was kind of like Radio Shack, still had a business model of the 1980s and just couldn't keep up because futons are not the hot item, right now. Mr. Producer, anything? It seems like there's something else on your mind. Anything else that you have, just that you throw out there? You're looking at me like no. I really nothing that we've talked about in production or anything like that. I think the people like to hear from you.
Yeah, I got
nothing but awkward silence.
That's it.
All right, that's no problem. So, in conclusion, Mr. Producer, we try to be pretty transparent on this show, but it's also, we don't take ourselves seriously. We're not trying to solve, political things. That's just not the purpose of the show.
No solving anything.
No solving anything whatsoever. We're not smart enough to do all that. But sometimes you just have to, when you do something and you make an error, you just need to you need to fess up to it. I'd like to thank the Ware County Fire Department.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I shared this little story with you. And it could possibly be that Saturday afternoon, I caught my farm on fire. And those guys responded very, very quickly. The man on the 911 operator was cool as a cucumber. I probably wasn't as much. So I gave him a farm doesn't necessarily have an address, and he repeatedly asked for an address. Not inappropriately, but I finally better articulated. It's a farm, it doesn't really have an address. It's a farm on Wakeona Drive. And he said, approximately what size? And I told him, right now we're talking about a half-acre fire, nothing, but it's moving pretty quickly. And then he began asking me questions. And, of course, I'm being facetious, but he's just like, well, what was your favorite hobby in school? What were but no, he was asking me, like, my name and stuff like that. And I was like...
Meanwhile, you're staring at the fire.
Yes, so I did say to him, but fairly calmly, I was just like, I think we might want to chat later. Could you send some guys out? And he was just as nice as he could be to me. He's just like, well, this is information that we need in order to send out the right kind of. I was like, okay. My dear wife was with me. Oh. As soon she could hear the fire trucks off in the distance. As soon as she heard them, we parked the truck in the back far corner of the farm because we didn't want it near the fire for obvious reasons, because gasoline is combustible. So she just jogged back to the truck and hid in the back of the farm because she was embarrassed. But she was there. And Woody, who will not leave my side, he jogged with her all the way to the back of the farm. He jumped into the truck. And you know how it is in a small town. Every single sheriff's deputy, fireman, everyone that showed up, I knew them personally.
Yeah.
That's how I always. This is when you would love for strangers to show up and help you. Oh no, the first person who pulls up is Randy Dean, one of my best friends. As I've known him for a long, long time. We've traveled together, friends. His wife's friends of ours. He's the first person that pulls up, and he just gets out of his car and just smiles and smiles. Walks out to the farm, taking his sweet time. Because, I mean, there's nothing that a sheriff's deputy can do about a fire that's been picked up by wind. And so he just comes and just calmly says, so you got a little fire here, do you? yeah, I do. So I want to thank those guys. They were very, very, very kind. And then Drew McCarthy is who put out my fire. And that was humbling, to see Drew McCarthy. Anytime Drew McCarthy's getting you out of a jam.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have started the fire.
Yeah, exactly. So anytime Drew McCarthy is getting you out of a jam, you just go home for the rest of the day and just said, Heavenly Father, I love you, but I've failed you today miserably. I had to call Drew McCarthy to get me out of a jam.
It must have been a humbling experience.
It was a humbling experience to see Drew saving me. Now, to that end, thank you, Drew. Drew's a good old boy. Drew wanted to stop and talk to me in the midst of putting out the fire and everything. Say, hey, how's everybody doing? I was like, Drew, let's put out the fire and then we'll get to chatting later.
Yeah.
But Drew he was quick. He knew what he was doing. And apparently I did not. Apparently, fire and wind don't go well together.
No.
That was a life lesson. I had a horrible weekend, so I was going out to the farm to kind of release some of the anger, or whatever, and it did not help. It caused a great big of chaos in the community. So probably 3/4 of an acre caught on fire, but I'm gonna have some pretty grass.
That's right.
I'm having some pretty grass right there, and
contain it to your property.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Don't get that's no crazy talk. Was it really, really close to a neighbor? Perhaps it was.
But thanks to Drew.
Was this the second fire accident I've had in 4 years? Yeah, it was. But anyhow, I want to thank the Ware County Fire Department for coming out, and they were very responsive, and I was very irresponsible, and I'm a big boy. I did get a permit, but
That's always a good thing.
well, getting a permit doesn't mean that they would also like to ask you to let your fire get carried away, which I did. It was accidental.
But if you had not had a permit,
That probably would have been no bueno.
no bueno.
No bueno. But anyhow, I'm very thankful for those guys. They did a phenomenal. I'm a big enough boy to admit this is where I messed up, and God humbled me by sending Drew McCarthy. All right. So our summary for today is fire and wind do not mix.
Do not.
Clay Thomas loves high school football, but I love even more the Miracle League. That's point number 2. Don't forget to guess the song that I played on my I don't want to call it a kazoo because that makes me seem simple-minded, but it was a kazoo. Guess the song and share in order to win a $50 to Otter Creek. And then more than anything, thank you to the Pine Box Dwellers for making our little program here just that much more special. And I think that's it. You guys have a fantastic week. See you.
Let her go.